It's a place that occupies more of our imagination than our travel itineraries. A nation so vast it seems to defy a single identity, often presented through a narrow lens of stark headlines and historical caricatures. We think we know Russia, but what we often grasp are mere fragments. The chilling winds of Siberia, the stoic faces in Red Square, the echoes of a fallen empire. We see the power, we hear the rhetoric, but we rarely feel the pulse. But these are just ripples on the surface of a deep and powerful current. So, let's forget the postcards for a moment. Instead, let's journey along the great river of Russian destiny, tracing its course from ancient headwaters through turbulent rapids and into the vast, uncertain sea of the 21st century. This is not a tour, it is an attempt to map the soul of a continent. Before any flag was ever raised, there was the land itself. And in Russia, the land is the first and most overwhelming character in its story. To say it's big is an understatement. It's a geographical absolute, spanning 11 time zones. Its eastern shores in Vladivostok are greeting the morning sun, while its western borders in Kaliningrad are still cloaked in the previous day's night. You could fit the entire United States within its borders and still have enough room for all of China. This sheer scale is not just a statistic, it is the foundation of the Russian mindset. It has bred a unique sense of destiny, a psychology of encirclement, and a deep-seated belief that the state must be powerful enough to control such an impossible expanse. The horizon is not a limit, but a constant, beckoning challenge. The landscape is a study in brutal and beautiful extremes. In the north, the Siberian taiga, the world's largest forest, forms a green ocean of pine, fir, and birch, a planetary lung breathing life into our atmosphere. Here, winter is not a season but an entity, a governing force. In places like Omiakan, known as the Pole of Cold, temperatures plunge to a bone, fracturing minus 50 degrees Celsius, where breath freezes into crystals and machinery fails. Yet this same country cradles the sun-drenched, almost subtropical beaches of Sochi on the Black Sea, a Riviera where palm trees sway and Russians flock for summer relief. This dichotomy is Russia in miniature. This is a land carved by titans. The Ural Mountains, a rugged ancient spine, form the traditional, almost mythical, boundary between Europe and Asia. They are not soaring peaks like the Himalayas, but a long, weathered range that serves as a profound cultural and psychological dividing line. East of them lies Siberia, a name that evokes exile and hardship, but is also a treasure chest of unimaginable natural wealth: oil, gas, minerals, and timber. And nestled within it is Lake Baikal, the world's oldest and deepest freshwater lake, containing a staggering 20% of the world's unfrozen fresh water, more than all the North American Great Lakes combined. Its depths are a universe of unique life, its waters so pristine you can see 40 meters down. This is the jewel of Siberia, a sacred sea. Out on the Pacific Ring of Fire, the Kamchatka Peninsula is a land of geysers and active volcanoes, a raw, primordial landscape of fire and ice. And weaving through the nation's heartland is the Volga River, Europe's longest, the Mother Volga, of Russian folklore, shaping lives and commerce along its banks. This immense, often unforgiving, canvas has demanded a unique kind of resilience, a resourcefulness born from isolation, and a spirit as expansive as the land itself. The story of the Russian state does not begin with tsars and palaces, but in the forested riverlands of Eastern Europe, with a collection of Slavic tribes. Their world was transformed by the arrival of Viking traders and warriors, the Varangians, who forged a great trade route from the Baltic to the Black Sea. From this fusion of Slavic culture and Norse ambition, a state was born, the Kievan Rus. Centered in modern-day Kiev, it was a prosperous and powerful federation, the cradle of what would become Russian, Ukrainian, and Belarusian identity. The most pivotal moment of this era came in 988, when Prince Vladimir the Great, seeking a unifying faith for his people, adopted Orthodox Christianity from the Byzantine Empire. Legend says his envoys were left breathless by the beauty of the Hagia Sophia in Constantinople, and this aesthetic, spiritual choice would permanently orient Russia's culture, art, and worldview, creating a deep connection to a faith that emphasized mystery, ritual, and collective soul over individual reason. But this golden age fractured. Internal rivalries tore the Kievan Rus apart into feuding principalities, leaving it weak and exposed. And from the east, a storm was coming. The 13th century Mongol invasion was a cataclysm that burned cities to the ground and severed ties with the rest of Europe for nearly 250 years. Russian princes became vassals, forced to pay tribute to the Golden Horde. This period, known as the Tatar Yoke, was a national trauma, but it also fundamentally reshaped the Russian state. It isolated Russia from the European Renaissance and the Reformation, deepening its unique path. More importantly, it taught brutal lessons in statecraft, the necessity of absolute, centralized power, the use of a secret police, and a ruthless system of taxation and conscription. While under Mongol dominion, the center of power shifted. A small, strategically located town called Moscow began to consolidate its strength. Its princes were cunning, acting as the Mongols' chief tax collectors while secretly building their own power base. When the Byzantine capital of Constantinople fell to the Ottoman Turks in 1453, Russian Orthodox clerics began to see Moscow as the Third Rome, the last true bastion of Orthodox Christianity. This powerful messianic idea gave Moscow the ideological authority it needed. It was Moscow's Grand Prince, Ivan III, who finally threw off the Mongol yoke, and his grandson, Ivan IV, who would be crowned the first Tsar of all Russia. Known as Ivan the Terrible, his reign was a maelstrom of paranoia, brutal purges conducted by his black-clad secret police, the Oprichnina, and visionary expansion. He crushed the power of the old nobility and conquered the Tatar Khanates of Kazan and Astrakhan, transforming Russia into a vast, multi-ethnic empire. The fortress was forged. The fortress needed a window. It was Peter the Great who would smash that window open. Ascending to the throne at the end of the 17th century, Peter was a force of nature, a nearly 7-foot tall man with boundless energy and a burning ambition to modernize his nation. Traveling through Europe in disguise, he worked in shipyards and studied Western technology, returning to Russia with a determination to drag it, kicking and screaming, into the modern age. He waged a long, costly war with Sweden to secure a coastline on the Baltic Sea, and upon that marshy ground, he built his masterpiece, St. Petersburg. A stunning, European-style city built on the bones of tens of thousands of serfs. It was his window to Europe, a symbol of his rejection of old Muscovite traditions. Peter's reforms were a cultural earthquake. He forced the nobility to shave their long beards, adopt Western dress, and established a new merit-based system of state service. He founded the Russian Academy of Sciences and reformed the army. But this westernization was imposed from the top down, creating a profound cultural schism. A sophisticated, French-speaking elite emerged, utterly detached from the deeply traditional, Orthodox peasantry, who viewed these changes with suspicion. This fault line, between a westernized elite and a traditionalist heartland, would haunt Russia for centuries. The 18th century saw the empire expand dramatically under monarchs like Catherine the Great, a German princess who became one of Russia's most formidable rulers. Russia's borders stretched from Poland to Alaska, making it the largest contiguous empire in the world. This was a golden age for the Russian aristocracy. Palaces dripped with gold, and the arts flourished. But this glittering facade was built on the backs of millions of serfs, who were little more than property, bound to the land and their masters. This fundamental injustice was the empire's great, unresolved contradiction, a wound that would fester and eventually erupt into revolution. By the early 20th century, the magnificent facade of the Russian Empire was cracking. The vast gap between the opulent aristocracy and the impoverished masses, coupled with disastrous losses in World War I, created a perfect storm. In 1917, the storm broke. The Russian Revolution was not one event, but two. The February Revolution, a spontaneous uprising that toppled Tsar Nicholas II, and the October Revolution, a calculated seizure of power by a radical faction, the Bolsheviks led by Vladimir Lenin. Their simple, powerful promise of peace, land, and bread resonated with millions, and in the brutal civil war that followed, their Red Army triumphed. In 1922, a new entity was declared, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, the USSR. It was the world's first communist state, an audacious, world-changing experiment to forge a new society free from class, religion, and private property. The Soviet era was a period of staggering contradictions. Under Lenin's successor, Joseph Stalin, the country underwent a forced, brutal industrialization. Through a series of 5-year plans, a rural, agrarian society was transformed into an industrial superpower. But the human cost was unimaginable. Millions perished in the forced collectivization of agriculture, which led to horrific famines, most notably the Holodomor in Ukraine. Millions more were executed or sent to the vast network of forced labor camps, the Gulag Archipelago, during the Great Purge. It was this brutalized but industrially mighty nation that faced the ultimate test, the Nazi invasion in 1941. For Russians, it is the Great Patriotic War. It was a conflict of unparalleled ferocity, where entire cities were besieged and battles like Stalingrad and Kursk were fought with an apocalyptic intensity. The Soviet Union bore the brunt of the fighting against Nazi Germany, suffering colossal losses estimated at over 27 million people. The victory, achieved at such a terrible price, cemented the USSR's status as a global superpower and is a source of immense national pride to this day. This set the stage for the next great conflict, the Cold War. For nearly half a century, the world was divided between the two poles of the United States and the Soviet Union. It was a tense standoff of ideologies, an arms race that brought humanity to the brink of nuclear annihilation during the Cuban Missile Crisis. But it was also a time of incredible scientific achievement. The Soviets stunned the world by launching Sputnik, the first satellite, and sending Yuri Gagarin, the first human, into space. But the rigid, centralized economy, so effective at building heavy industry, could not deliver consumer goods or foster innovation. By the 1980s, the system was creaking under the weight of the arms race and its own internal inefficiencies. The final Soviet leader, Mikhail Gorbachev, attempted to reform the system with his policies of glasnost, openness, and perestroika restructuring, but he only succeeded in revealing the deep cracks in the foundation. In 1991, following a series of nationalist movements and a failed coup by hardliners, the Soviet Union dissolved. The red flag was lowered over the Kremlin for the last time. The collapse of the Soviet Union was a seismic event, leaving a vacuum of power, ideology, and identity. The 1990s were a chaotic and often painful decade. The shock therapy transition to a market economy led to hyperinflation that wiped out savings, the rise of a small class of fabulously wealthy oligarchs who snapped up state assets, and a collapse in living standards for millions. For many Russians, it was a time of national humiliation and instability, which created a deep longing for order and a return to national greatness. Today's Russian Federation is a complex political entity. On paper, it is a semi-presidential republic. In practice, power is highly centralized, reflecting a historical preference for a strong state. Economically, Russia's fortunes have been rebuilt on its vast natural resources. It is a global energy superpower, one of the world's largest exporters of oil and natural gas. This has fueled a significant recovery, but has also created a dependency that makes the economy vulnerable. Yet, there's more to the story. Russia is also a major grain exporter, having revitalized its agricultural sector, and its advanced military-industrial complex produces some of the world's most sophisticated weaponry. A vibrant tech sector has emerged, with companies like Yandex becoming leaders in AI and search technology. The social fabric is one of stark contrasts. The dazzling, cosmopolitan energy of Moscow, with its world-class metro system where each station is a work of art, feels a world away from the quiet, traditional life in rural villages. This gap between the hyper-modern megacities and the vast provinces is a key challenge. There is also a generational divide between those who remember the stability and perceived strength of the Soviet Union and a younger, post-Soviet generation that is more globally connected. The nation today is charting a determined course, seeking to reassert its influence on the world stage while navigating complex domestic and demographic challenges. To understand Russia, you cannot just look at its politics or geography. You must listen to its music, read its literature, and try to grasp the Russkaya dusha, the Russian soul. This is a nation that has produced some of the most profound art the world has ever known. It is the literary universe of Leo Tolstoy's War and Peace and Fyodor Dostoevsky's Crime and Punishment. Russian literature rarely offers easy answers. It wrestles with the ultimate questions of faith, suffering, free will, and redemption. It is the poetic soul of Alexander Pushkin, who forged the modern Russian literary language. This depth is heard in its music, in the soaring, melancholic melodies of Tchaikovsky's ballads, the epic grandeur of Mussorgsky, and the modern torment of Shostakovich. The power of Russian ballad, at the legendary Bolshoi and Mariinsky theaters, remains a global benchmark of perfection. This soul is visible in the architecture, from the vibrant flame, like onion domes of St. Basil's Cathedral to the grand, imperial palaces of St. Petersburg. But the Russian soul is not confined to grand theaters. It is found in the boundless hospitality that will see a host cover a table with food for a guest. It is in the tradition of the dacha, a small summer house where city dwellers escape to cultivate gardens, connect with the earth, and enjoy family, a vital part of the national identity. And it is found in the community ritual of the banya, a steamy sauna where friends gather to sweat, talk, and cleanse body and spirit. It is a soul forged in a diverse crucible. The Russian Federation is home to over 190 distinct ethnic groups, from the Muslim Tatars of Kazan to the Buddhist Buryats near Lake Baikal. This internal diversity is a source of incredible cultural richness, a tapestry woven from countless threads of language, religion, and tradition. For a traveler, Russia offers an experience of incredible depth. The practicalities, of course, must be considered. Most visitors require a visa, a process best started well in advance. Once there, the rhythm of life unfolds. Russian cuisine is a revelation of comfort and flavor. It's the hearty beet soup, borscht, savory pelmeni dumplings, rich beef stroganoff, and delicate blini pancakes served with caviar. It is the culture of toasting with vodka, or the social ritual of brewing tea in a traditional samovar. Travel within the country is an adventure. The Moscow Metro is an underground palace, and for the ultimate journey, there is the Trans-Siberian Railway. It is not just a train ride, it is a 9,000-kilometer pilgrimage across a continent. Watching the birch forests of European Russia give way to the Ural Mountains, and then the endless Siberian steppe, is to witness the nation unfold in real time. Perhaps the most misunderstood aspect of Russia is its people. Often perceived as stern, this is a misreading of a public reservation. Smiles are earned, not given freely to strangers. But break through that initial reserve, and you will often find profound warmth, a fierce loyalty, and a capacity for deep feeling. Family remains the cornerstone of society, and the women of Russia, far from any stereotype, are integral to every facet of life, dominating critical fields like medicine and education. They embody the nation's resilience, a strength forged by a history that has demanded nothing less. Our journey along Russia's River of Destiny shows us a nation that is far too complex for easy labels. It is not a monolith, but a world of contrasts, of immense cruelty and profound artistry, of deep-rooted tradition and disruptive innovation, of stark isolation and a yearning to be understood. Russia's story is a vivid lesson in how geography shapes destiny, how history leaves indelible marks on the present, and how a nation's soul is a resonant chorus of all the voices that came before. It remains one of the world's most pivotal and compelling civilizations, a place that doesn't just invite you to visit, but challenges you to understand. What aspect of this journey through Russia surprised you the most? Share your thoughts or questions in the comments below. If this story offered you a new perspective, consider sharing it with a fellow traveler who appreciates looking beyond the surface. And for more deep explorations of the world's most fascinating places, make sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching.